In this session, I'm going to have a look at your final exam preparation for computer architecture, COAR5111. Where do we start? We should have started preparing already. If we haven't, then let us prepare for the take-home assessment as follows. We're going to firstly look at the module outline document. Your primary source of information for all of your answers is your textbook. If I'm looking at my module outline document, there's the name of the textbook, CompTIA A+, Guide to IT Technical Support, the 11th edition. Other textbooks or other reputable sources can also be used, but your material is based on this primary text. So it makes sense for us to use this. This is also what you're going to reference in your exam, in your take-home exam. Now, let's look at the scope of what is going to be covered. You will see that they have been testing each of the module outcomes. So far they have tested, do you know what are the different hardware components, peripherals in the desktop and in the laptop? Remember, if they ask a question about the desktop or a laptop, you need to answer specifically to the desktop or to the laptop. For example, in the test, they asked about disassembly of the laptop. What were the steps involved? And many students listed the steps for a desktop computer. There is some similarity, so you got some marks, but you did not get 100 marks if you did not do the steps for the laptop. And it's very specific steps that are given. Also, the correct answer is given to us in the textbook, in the slides on Learn. If you go and you search Google, if you Google for answers, you get a variety of different steps that are related but might not be identical. All right, so if you want full marks, you're going to use your primary source of information. Apply maintenance and troubleshooting techniques on hardware components and peripherals on the desktop and the laptop. So here we came across things like on your processor, on the motherboard, on the RAM, to replace any of these components, what is required. Input-output devices that are connected to a desktop or a laptop, such as a printer. We answered this in the assignment as well. Also, we've seen that some of the questions from the assignment were repeated as well. Demonstrate a solid understanding for mobile devices. Now, this was not tested previously, so you'll need to focus on this area for your final exam. Remember, the final exam covers all of the content. Now, final exam counts 35%. You've completed your test, you've completed your assignment, you are left with 35%, you've completed your ICE activities. Looking at which chapters to go and have a look at, right? Learning Unit 1 covers Chapter 1. Learning Unit 2 covers Chapters 2 and 3, and then also 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Learning Unit 3 covers Chapters 6 and 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 10. Sorry, not 7, 10. And then Learning Unit 4 on storage is covered in which chapter? Chapter 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then Chapter 10. And then Learning Unit 5 finally is on mobile devices, and we've got Chapter 9 that is covered here. So in total, how many chapters? Chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did we have Chapter 6? Chapter 5. Yes, we had Chapter 6, I/O devices, 5, 6. Then we had Chapter 9, and then Chapter 10. Now, if I look at the Learn, if I click and look at Learn, in Learn, I can see I've got Learning Unit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which matches this module outline document. So for the demonstration, I'm simply going to go through Learning Unit 5. Now, you're going to do this for each of the learning units, Learning Units 4, so far you've been tested on learning units 1 to 3. Now we're also going to look at 4 and 5 for your final exam. So I'm going to now look at learning unit 5 and how to do preparation. Remember, if you've gone through this material and you get a question, it's easy for you to go and locate the answer for that question had you gone through this material previously. So theme 1 looked at supporting mobile devices. If I look at the learning objectives, they want me to identify the types of mobile devices, operating systems, wired and wireless connections, and accessories. You'll see all of the questions will test these objectives. Configure email and synchronize content on mobile devices for business use. How to set up your mobile device, that's your cell phone, your tablet, and connect it to your email account. And synchronize means that the content can be stored locally as well as in the cloud or on the server. So how do you ensure that you have the same content that's on the server stored locally? When you don't have an internet connection or you don't have Wi-Fi, you'll be able to access that content because you've synchronized. That means updated that information. Whatever is stored on the server is also stored on your local device. That's synchronization. Troubleshoot common problems with mobile devices. We are all using cell phones, so we are familiar with these problems. Sometimes an app is not working, sometimes the Wi-Fi is not working, sometimes the cell phone cannot get a signal. So there's multiple things that can go wrong that prevents us from using the mobile device to connect to the servers, either on the internet or at work. If I look at the theme now on mobile devices, what is covered here, they give us some examples of the mobile devices. So what are these? Tablets, laptops, smartphones, smartwatches, and then your wired PC connection. So wired or wireless connections. Wired means it's connected by a cable. Wireless, it's using Wi-Fi. So there's some examples. We can click on these articles to have a look at what is contained in the article, so that if we have questions related to common problems with your mobile phone, for example, let me open this one up and see what do they have to say here. So common problems with your mobile phone: low battery, dropped calls, slower speeds, overheating. So they give us just a couple of problems with the phone. So as you can see, I'm just skimming through to see what information is contained. What are the advantages of wired versus wireless? 8 common mistakes slowing down your Android phone and what to do instead. And there's a video that you can watch as well. Then mobile devices versus PCs. Will mobile devices replace PCs in the enterprise? Enterprises in large organizations, so like the college, in large companies, etc. And then you can look at chapter 9. Now, this is the next resource that I have. Synchronizing. They said we're going to be tested on synchronizing. What is synchronizing? Checking that you have the same content stored locally than you have on the server. So they give us more articles that I can go through and have a look at here. So I'll go and have a look at all of these articles. These would be sources of information for you to use when you are answering questions on the final exam. Then troubleshooting of mobile devices. They also give us additional articles here. 5 steps to protect your smartphone from theft or loss. What to do if your phone is stolen. Prevention tips, unauthorized access, physical security. They give us a number of articles there as well. So now this familiarizes myself with the content that's available on Learn. What is the content that's available in my textbook? First thing I'll do to have a look at my textbook would be, I would go to more resources, and then I know that I have slides that have been put for me, that have been uploaded for me, and there's all the chapter slides that you need. So you need to have gone through all of these different slides to familiarize yourself with what is in these slides. At least if you've read it a couple of times, then you have a good idea of where to locate your answers for your final exam. So I'm going to open up the module 9 PowerPoint. Let me just... And I'm going to browse through and have a look at what content is covered here. Okay, and it's exactly the same objectives that we had on Learn. So what do they have to say about mobile devices, the different operating systems? They're speaking about Android and iOS. And then I'll page through and I'll have a look at what content is contained in the textbook. So then I can go for more detailed information to have a look at the textbook if there's something that is not covered here or I need further explanation. Wireless connections, they speak about cellular, Wi-Fi, GPS, Bluetooth, and near-field communications, or NFC. Hotspots and tethering. So hotspot is when I'm using my cell phone to share my internet connection with maybe my laptop. Cellular connections, location services, GPS, personal area connections. There's NFC, near field communication. And then I continue and I just page through and I have a look at the accessories, the connectors, the apps, some more information, email, Gmail, how to set up my Gmail, how to synchronize, what options are available, how to troubleshoot, what are the different steps that I can take. There's some steps that I can use here as well. Common problems, malware. Okay, so I've familiarized myself now with all of the content that's available, both on Learn and then also in my textbook. Now, what's next? I'll need to go to have a look at past papers as well. And no, before I want to go to the past papers, I also want to have a look at, there's another resource that I have, which is my practice tests. So I'll have a look at the practice test as well for chapter 9. And I'm just going to save and submit so it gives me all the answers. Now, when I'm going through this here, I'm going to read through the questions and I'm going to then see, oh, okay, there's the correct answer. Then when I've done this a couple of times, I can go back and I can have a look at it and I can answer it without the questions being answered. So a company asks Aurora to work on a mobile device that belongs to a colleague. After evaluation, she narrows down the list of things to consider doing. They include uninstalling some apps, updating the operating system, and possibly performing a factory reset. What would have prompted her to consider these actions? You're trying to remove suspected malware. Malware is some software that's faulty software that's causing your mobile device to work unexpectedly or to not function as expected. A large retail chain has asked Dylan to explore wireless technologies to see if there's a better way of tracking apparel inventories. So the stock, this is a retail chain. So you want to track your stock. That's basically what they're saying here. What technologies should Dylan recommend for this company? RFID tags. Those are the tags that you find on the devices, on items in a like a sports shop, the tags that you would find, radio frequency tags, right? So prevents theft and also IDs the devices, the articles, the items that you would have in stock. And similarly, I'll page through, I'll read all of the questions, because some of the questions that appear here could also be asked in your final exam. Now, if you had not gone through these questions, then you would be seeing the question in the final exam for the first time. If you do go through all of these questions, you will remember that you've seen this question previously somewhere else, and you'll know, okay, let me go to my practice test. Let me see, did I come across this question previously? And then you've already got the answers that have been given to you here. All right. So it's very, very important for you to have gone through the practice test in order to identify questions that might be replicated or duplicated on the final exam. Then what would I do next? Next thing I need to do is to go and have a look at my past papers. So I'm just going to have a look at past papers. And I'm going to type in, this module is COAR5111. And I can see there's EA. E is for exam. Let me click on it and see which exam is this. I'm going to change the view. Okay, so this is 2022. We are currently in 2023. So 2022 paper, I'm going to page through it. The first question is asking you about RAM and CPU. The next one's about mobile devices. Discuss how you will secure mobile devices and the solution to recovering your data in case of mobile theft, right? We just came across that now where? In my learning units, learning unit 5, mobile devices, supporting mobile technologies, right? Here, they're talking about how to secure, synchronize, and troubleshooting. 5 steps to protect your smartphone from theft, right? What to do if your phone is stolen. Physical security. So there's all of the things that I can do from Learn. I can get direct answers here, okay? Where else? In troubleshoot, identify, did they talk about configure email, operating system, wireless connections? So I don't see anything here about securing and then about theft. So this was mainly about troubleshooting, location services, okay, so my main source of information is then going to be these here. How to protect your smartphone from theft or loss, what to do if the phone is stolen, and then some physical security as well. There I can find my answers here. Next one. So I've located that. Physical features of the CPU, 64-bit and virtualization that was covered previously. Next section, you're a junior IT. One of the duties is to demonstrate how computer works to a new intern. Discuss how you demonstrate. Any question that asks about how computer works, it's going to be talking about input, processing, output. So you can also add input, processing, storage, and output. So those are the basic things that needs to be discussed when talking about how a computer works. Now also look at the mark allocation and write sufficient information for the mark allocation. If I just write one line, the computer works by inputting information, processing information, storing the information in output, the information, that's 4 marks. You need 10 marks here. So you need to write information to cover the rest of the mark allocation. Mary decided to upgrade the CPU. What steps will she take? Also consider cooling. Remember that the heat sink and the fan and the thermal paste needs to be included in a question like this so that you fully answer the question. For one to understand the difference between ROM and RAM, you need to understand their characteristics. Briefly identify ROM and RAM. Characteristics. Writes enough information for 10 marks. Explain why you'd use a soft on and off jumper to power on the system when it is outside of the motherboard. To test it, I can use a soft on-off jumper, right? So that would be a practical application there. Describe the relationship between ROM, BIOS, and CMOS. That's covered in your text. By aid of examples, operating procedures. Operating procedures this is also covered to become an effective tech. So go back and look at where would I locate this information. Discuss the steps you would take to upgrade and install a motherboard, covered in the motherboard section. Explain different ways a PC technician can maintain good airflow. You'll speak about the heatsink. You'll speak about the additional fans that you might have in your computer. Compare the difference between primary and extended partitions. This is discussed in the chapter in this section here, which would be learning unit. Learning unit 4. So I'll go back and I look at storage. There's the different types of storage. So here they are speaking about the difference between a hard drive and solid state drive. So I'll go and have a look what is the difference between SATA and PATA hard drives, how to install. Then they're speaking about RAID, troubleshooting hard drives. Chapter 5 is on supporting devices, optical drives, etc. Okay, so the basic procedure when you install a new hard drive is you need to format that hard drive, and then you need to create a partition. Before you format, you need to create a partition. A partition is basically a logical space in which information can be stored. Logical meaning that something your operating system can see. Okay, like the C drive, D drive, E drive, etc. So before I start using this hard drive, I need to partition the hard drive, and then I need to format that partition with a file system. And the file system allows me to organize the information on that hard drive. So there's some software that I need to access this hardware, and that's done in the operating system. So I'll find more information here on primary and extended partitions. Okay, so primary partition, for example, holds the hard drive. Extended partitions are used for logical storage space. You look at your textbook as well. Let's go back to the questions. You have been asked by IT manager to draft a guideline on what to consider when upgrading RAM. That's covered in your RAM section. Video capture and playback suffer from several quirks. Quirks is problems that are intermittent that might happen from time to time. Describe 3 of these common quirks that you would find on the capture side. Capture side, it means when I'm recording video. So what might happen when I'm recording video? The image might be jumpy. The image might be unclear, or it might be in one color, not all colors. So when I'm capturing the image, what could be those problems that could be caused? So on the capture side, these kind of questions you need to underline. If you don't understand the words, go and look it up, right? So several quirks. If I don't know what a quirk is, then I'll go highlight it, and then This is not allowing me to go and look it up. But I can just go and type in quirks. And it gives me a peculiar aspect of a person's characteristic or behavior. So something that's unusual. So when you're capturing video, what's unusual? Okay, peculiar. If you don't know what peculiar is, then you click on it and it will say slightly different to what is normal or expected. So something that is unusual, unusual behavior. We've all captured video where maybe there's no sound, or the sound is not clear, or the video image is not clear. So, or it's jerky. Something is not wrong, not right with it. Use at least 3 factors, characteristics for each to compare the following RAID. Now, RAID was discussed here. There's RAID being discussed here. Okay. So RAID 0, 1, and 5, and then 1 plus 0 is 10. That's being discussed here. There's an article that tells me about RAID. Let's open up this article. What is RAID? What is the different types of RAID? So this very clearly tells me now what is the different types of RAID. They want me in this article, in this exam, mirrored, duplex, and distripe. What is the difference? And it's 9 marks. So it's 3 marks, 3 marks, 3 marks. Let me go back to this article now on what is RAID. So RAID is basically stacking multiple hard drives because I want to increase the performance, capacity, and fault tolerance of the hard drives. So first one, RAID 0 is called striping. Okay, so striping, did they ask me about striping? Yes, so this is RAID 0. There's it here, striping. So striping is where, for example, there's RAID 0. This striping means I'm going to take a block from one hard drive, a block from another hard drive, and I'm going to combine it, and I'm going to make it the D drive, E drive, F drive, H drive, right? So on my computer, it looks like one drive, but physically it's on 2 drives. The advantage of doing such a thing is it's going to increase the read-write speed. In other words, it's faster to read and write from 2 drives than it is from 1 drive. Disadvantage of doing this is if one of these hard drives fail, all of my information is gone because it's not fault tolerant. Fault tolerant means I've got a backup. For example, here in RAID 5, if one of these hard drives goes, I've still got the information on the other 3 hard drives because this is a stripe set with parity. So this has got performance and it's got fault tolerance. This one has got performance, but it does not have fault tolerance. So that's just striping. Then this is RAID 1, which is just mirroring or just duplexing. A mirrored drive means I'm using a single controller connecting to both of these hard drives. With a disk duplex, it's also RAID 1, but the difference is I've got 2 separate controllers connecting to my motherboard. So even if the controller will go or fail, then the one hard drive is still available. So disk duplex or a disk mirror means whatever is written to this hard drive is also written to this hard drive. It's like having a real-time copy of one of the hard drives. The disadvantage is that you can't write anything else on this hard drive because it's filled up with information that's from this hard drive. So that's a disk duplex. Another advantage here would be that the operating system can be stored on a mirrored or a duplexed hard drive like this. Here you can't store the operating system. Here you can store the operating system. So this would just be used for data and for other media files. This can be used for the operating system as well. There's no performance lost, but the disadvantage here would be that you're using a redundant hard drive. Unnecessary repetition, redundant. But we use that for fault tolerance. That's the advantage here. So you'd go through this article. On RAID 0, right? High performance, no extra costs due to lack of redundancy. Redundancy, we know, is repetition. So whatever is on the one hard drive is on the next hard drive. Mirroring, RAID 1, okay. This failure tolerance, higher storage costs because repetition of hard drive. And then you can find additional information as well. You'll go and have a look at your textbook as well. That's question 5. Then question 6 speaks about computers are affected by different environmental threats. List 3. We've seen this question a couple of times. Environmental threats has got to do with heat, humidity, radio frequency interference, electromagnetic interference, or electrostatic discharge. So all of those kind of things are in the environment. All right, so environmental threats. 4 processes that you would follow when you want to disassemble a portable PC. This is a laptop portable PC. Describe 5 troubleshooting techniques for a wireless connection. We've seen that. Remember, we were just discussing Learning Unit 5. So in Learning Unit 5, they gave us an article on the wireless connection. You go back and have a look at that article to see what were the things they mentioned when the Wi-Fi is not working. Fred tries, now they say 5 marks. So make sure you describe all 5. Fred tries to power on the laptop, but the screen remains blank. Provide 3 solutions to the problem. Right? So there's multiple problems that could be power related. It will be in the power related chapter on Learn and also in your textbook. Also check those review questions as well, those practice tests. Maybe the question is there. Provide an example of a source for each of these malicious software. Source means where did it come from? Viruses can come from emails, they can come from programs. So the source of each of these. So don't just describe what a virus is. Tell me where did the source. So I opened an email attachment and then the virus was attached to the email. Or I downloaded an app, the app contained a virus. Similarly, where did the worm come from? Okay. So remember to answer the question. Not just look at, oh, they want me to tell them what is virus. They want me to tell what is a worm. You can say what is a virus, but you need to provide a source. Provide an example of the source for each of these. Okay, where did it come from? So make sure you're reading the questions correctly and answering the question. And your primary source of information is Learn and then also your textbook. If we work in this way, then we should be successful in the take-home exam.